Now today, what I plan on doing is put a light second coat on the deck. Now I don't have very much left here, so I actually thinned this down just slightly, so I hope I haven't ruined it. It's pretty much the same as it was yesterday. But anyway, what I want to mention here, first of all, I'm not going to video doing the second coat because it's going to look exactly the same as what we did yesterday. But what I want to mention is this morning I was doing a lot of thinking about this. Well, I mean, I didn't spend hours thinking about it, but when as you can see, I'm reusing this glove. I mean, I've used this one probably 5 or 6 times now. Well, 5 anyway. But when you take them off, you end up turning them inside out, right? Well, okay. By the time I've used it for about 5-10 minutes, my hand is really sweaty, and all the oils and everything are now on this side. So then I go and I put the glove back on, and if I don't think to turn it back the other way, well, now the inside is become the outside. And all this grease and everything is on the outside. And here I am trying to be so careful not to touch my parts. For instance, this piece right here, and this one, I washed them out with hot soapy water last night. So I know that they're, you might say, as grease-free as possible. So what I'm thinking is if a person is not going to put new ones on every time, it might be a good idea to just wash your hands once you get the gloves on with warm soapy water. And then, of course, make sure you dry them off, and then you're good to go. Big deal, right? Anyway, now, about the face mask. Now, if somebody's wondering, what do I think of it? I think it's really good. This is the only one I've ever had. But the way I can tell it's good is because, let's say I'm doing some spraying with a lacquer-based primer. So then after I'm all through, I'll wait for a couple of minutes, and then if I was to take the face mask off and smell the air, whoa, boy, can you ever smell the primer? So I know that it's working even with a lacquer, the lacquer paint, and of course the acrylic. I think the biggest thing you have to worry about is just getting the particles out of the air. I think my opinion is the acrylic is probably a lot safer than the lacquer. I can remember years ago when I was in my 20s and using what we used to call dope on model airplanes. The dope was a lacquer-based stuff, and wow, it's amazing I'm still alive now that I think about it. Okay, 2 more things here. Now about the face mask. My glasses do not work well on the bridge. It's just really uncomfortable. It holds them up too high. They have a tendency to want to fall off. So I got to come up with some sort of little idiot string on the glasses or something. But that's not a problem. Now, yesterday, in the comments, I was telling somebody that I was afraid that I'm not going to be able to tell when I do the second coat where I've sprayed and where I haven't, because the second coat is going to be the exact same shade and everything as this. So I'm thinking, well, maybe if I was to hold my light at just the right angle, this extra spotlight that I've got, just the right angle, then it'll reflect back, and I'll be able to see exactly where I sprayed and where I didn't. Once again, I'm not going to bother videoing it, but it's just a thought. Well, I'll let you know how it went. Anyway, I think I better get at it here. About 2 hours has passed now, and if you want to have a strange experience, wash your hands while wearing rubber gloves. Feels kind of weird. Anyway, I got the second coat on here. I got the first coat on here, and by the way, I did not prime these pieces, and I'm not gonna. Just want to see how it's going to work out. So far I just got 1 coat on. Now, I did run out of this paint. I used it all up, which means that when I mix up the new batch, I can only use the new batch on this. Now there is a tiny bit left. I know I said I used it all up, but there is a tiny bit left there, just enough that I can do touch-ups. Like I noticed that even right here, even after the second coat, it's a little bit thin on the planking right there. I can almost see the undercoat underneath there, the primer. On the other hand, it could be that, you know, when this piece is put on, it's going to more or less cover it up anyway, and you're not going to notice it. But the next batch I mix up, I'll use on this, and then for whatever else I'll be doing, because there is more pieces with planking on them. Like this piece here is almost complete planking except for where the turret goes. Now in this one here, on the other hand, there's just a little bit of simulated wood planking on this end, and this down here is some other kind of, I think it's some sort of metal plating. Yeah. So that'll be painted probably a different color. The edges, where all this nice detail is, that's going to be sort of a gray, the same as the side of the ship was, the side of the hull. And yeah, I think that's about all I can tell you here. I gotta go to the hobby store and get some more paint, I guess. Should have bought 2 jars of it when I was there. Yep, too soon old, too late smart. Oh, one more thing. This worked out pretty good, you know, on the deck here, because I couldn't rotate the deck or change the angle. But what really works the best is if you can take something like this and angle it so that the light reflects off your whatever you're painting just right. It's really nice to be able to hold it with your hand. Only works with smaller pieces. Now I realize that this piece is as big as some people's entire ship, but on this particular model, I call this a smaller piece. I was just checking my records, and you know it's a coincidence, but it's a month ago today that we got the Bismarck kit. Yeah, and we started out on step number 1 here. And if you remember, we had quite a time trying to get the seam for the bulbous bow not to be showing. You know, remember all that puttying we were doing? And yeah, I was getting a little discouraged at about that point. But anyway, we got through it. Step number 2 took about 10 minutes. Then we moved on to step number 3, and they wanted us to glue the deck down in those 2 pieces that we were just looking at. And I had felt that they'd be a lot easier to paint if, you know, if they were not glued down. Now, I suppose somebody using a brush, yeah, it might have worked out okay. But I was planning to do the airbrush thing. So we moved on to step 4, 5, 6, and 7, and made a whole bunch of little parts that get glued down later. And yeah, well, we gotta finish those 2 smaller pieces. As far as I'm concerned, the main deck is ready to be glued down, but I'm gonna go to the hobby store and get some more paint and properly finish off those 2 smaller pieces. I could do that yet this afternoon, but I just don't feel like it, so I'm probably gonna do it tomorrow morning. So, speaking of tomorrow, we'll see you tomorrow, and thanks for watching.